Good day, greetings students. I'm very happy to meet you all again in grade 12 economics. We are in IED, that is Indian Economic Development, which is your part B for grade 12 economics. We are in chapter 2 and we are discussing about the Indian economy between 1950 to 1990. So already in the first chapter we have discussed about how Indian economy was on the eve of independence. So on the eve of independence means during independence time, how was India's economic condition? So on the eve of independence, how was Indian economy means the agricultural sector had the maximum population of the country. Okay, and we had to face some negative things like low productivity, okay, intermediaries intervention, what do we mean by intermediaries? I work on a land means I do not enjoy the profit of the land myself. I have another person or I have a owner of the land to whom I have to pay a thing called rent. So the actual workers or the tillers of the land were not the owners of the land, which was really a negative thing to know. Okay, so intermediaries intervention was there, and then they had to depend a large on rainfall. That was also a negative thing. Then how was industrial sector? Industrial sector during independence, how was that? So handicrafts industry was main and they were exporting, but once the handicrafts industry failed and or stage la handicrafts industry was booming, foreign countries also were interested in buying our products, our handicrafts industry. But when it failed, there was no other industry that would take the place of handicrafts industry. Where in the industry handicrafts industry ki irunda and the importance regain pannave mudiyala. Okay, they had to face. And what happened because of that? We became the exporter of raw materials. We became a mere exporter of raw materials and the consumer of finished goods. So what we had to do? We had to export the raw materials. ஏன்னா நம்ம countryல industrial facilities எதுவுமே இருக்கல. So we cannot let the raw materials waste. And since we were in the colonial rule, we were forced to do that. நமக்கு வேற எந்த வழியும் இல்லாம we were exporting raw materials. And of course, since the raw materials are there in the other countries and the industries are also in the other countries, we could not get what we wanted in our country. நமக்கு தேவையான பொருள் நம்மளோட countryல கிடைக்கல. So we had no other opportunity but to be the consumer of finished goods. We were expecting others. We were expecting the other countries' goods to use. Okay, so we became the consumer of finished goods, mere consumer of finished goods. So how was what were the other improvements here? We had the introduction of railways and Telecommunication, in the sense we mean telegrams and telegraphs. Railways or introduction எப்படி இருந்துச்சு அப்படின்னா, it was beneficial to Indian people to travel. Okay, it helped them to travel, but at what cost? நம்ம ஃபேஸ் பண்ண நம்ம கொடுத்த விலை என்ன அதுக்காக அப்படின்னா, to enjoy railways we had to give lots of our raw materials to other countries. When the railways came into existence, obviously the transportation of materials from village to seaports and railway stations was easier. So railways vandadunala enna panna aarambichitaanga, they exported more of our goods to their country, to the British. Okay, and what happened because of Suez Canal vandadunala, the waterways became very cheaper. Since that also became cheaper, we had no other opportunities but to just be the exporter of raw materials. Right, children? So this is about railways and telecommunication. So what condition was India's economy? Indian economy was struggling. Okay, even though India have got independence, still the Indian economic condition was not in a very good and stable position. We had to struggle a lot from where we were to where we are. We had to struggle a lot. Alright, children, so this was about Indian economy on the eve of independence time la Indian economy eppadi irundichungiradha we have discussed in chapter 1. What we are doing in chapter 2 is about Indian economy between 1950 to 1990. During this time frame, how is it happening or how is it going means, should know the past, right? We discussed about the 5-year plans, we have discussed about the Niti Aayog, we have discussed about how successful were they or what were the problems, what were the common goals of all the 5-year plans. So what were the common goals of all 5-year plans? So we had 4 common goals. So என்னதான் வந்து predominant-ஆ வேற ஒரு goal இருந்தாலும், the 4 common goals that every 5-year plan wanted to achieve was, what were they? Growth, modernization, and then self-reliance and equity. These 4 played a major role in all the 5-year plans. Alright, children, it played a major role in all the 5-year plans. Right, children? So continuing, we are going to discuss about the agricultural sector. What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the agricultural sector. Okay, what did we already discuss about agricultural sector? We have discussed that there were land reforms brought. So agricultural sector la irunda and laws and growth nama kondu varanum appadina, we had to do a lot of things, and the first thing about it was bringing land reforms. Ena the tillers of the land are not the owners of the land nama paathom illaya, the tillers of the land are not the owners of the land. So what had to happen? They had to change that idea. So we saw that government made it a mixed economy, and we are discussing how the first 7-year plans has changed or has brought in changes in the Indian economy is what we are discussing. So the first 7-year plans focused. How did it focus on agriculture? The land reforms played a major role in bringing a change in the agricultural sector. So land reforms நம்ம இங்க என்ன மீன் பண்றோம் அப்படின்னா Land Ceiling Act. They brought a reform called land ceiling. According to land ceiling, a maximum limit was fixed for everybody to own a particular limit of land. யாரா இருந்தாலும் இவ்வளோ லேண்டு தான் ஹோல்ட் பண்ணணும், அவங்க இவ்வளோ லேண்டுக்கு தான் ஓனராக இருக்கணுங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு லிமிட் கொண்டு வந்தாங்க. பிகாஸ் தே டிட் நாட் வாண்ட் ஆல் த லேண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் த கிரேட்டர் ஆர் மேக்ஸிமம் சைஸ் ஆஃப் த லேண்ட் to be with only one person. So what did they bring? They brought this land ceiling where a maximum limit was fixed. Maximum limit or size, maximum limit size of land was fixed for everybody. So இது என்ன அளவுக்கு பாப்புலரா or helpful-ஆ இருந்துச்சு அப்படின்னா people had to sell the extra land or give it away to some others. So what happened? The idea behind it was to bring equality there. எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரே மாதிரியான லிமிட் கொண்டு வரதுக்கு தான் ட்ரை பண்ணோம். So this worked very well in Kerala and in West Bengal. So land ceiling worked very well in Kerala and West Bengal because the government was in favor of the tillers of the land rather than the owners of the land. But in other states of the country or other parts of the country, this was not so very much successful because there were many loopholes in the system and people found these loopholes. So என்ன பண்ணாங்கன்னா அந்த எக்ஸ்ட்ரா லேண்டை அவங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சவங்க பேரில் ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. So naturally people will think that they have the land ceiling limit and others have the extra limit. So there won't be any confusion or any change or any other negative impacts for them is what they have thought. That is about land reforms, that is especially land ceiling. What are we going to discuss about today is about the Green Revolution, which brought a major change in the agricultural sector. It led towards a greater growth rate improvement in the agricultural sector. So when was this Green Revolution introduced? Means it was during the reign of 1969-74 5-year plans. That is exactly after the plan holidays. நம்ம பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா, third 5-year plan ஓட ஃபெயிலியருக்கு அப்புறமா they had to go for plan holidays for about 3 years. So after those 3 years came the fourth 5-year plan between the years 1969 to 74. So when was it introduced? Introduced during the fourth 5-year plan. That was between 1969 to 74. In the period la Green Revolution kondu vandu. So what was it about the Green Revolution? Means it was about high yielding value seeds. So what was introduced according to it? high yielding value seeds. Okay, so இது என்ன எதுக்காக இந்த green revolution முக்கியமா அப்படின்னா, because Indian economy, Indian government realized that 75% of the population was with agricultural sector. அவங்களோட livelihood எல்லாமே இங்கிருந்து தான் அவங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சிச்சு, agricultureலேருந்து தான். So it is an important thing to improve the agricultural sector. Okay, and what more importantly, agriculture depends on the rainfall. நேற்று நம்ம previous sessionல பார்த்தோம் that it depends on rainfall. Okay, and whenever there was no rainfall or rainfall lesser than the expected level, then the farmers had to face a lot of difficulties compared to the years that they have good rainfall. So because of poor irrigation facilities, so how was agriculture at that time? Agriculture depended upon monsoon, depended on rainfall, and they had poor irrigation facilities. Alright, the another negative thing about is they had poor irrigation facilities. So the stagnation in agriculture during the colonial rule was permanently broken by the green revolution. So அங்க எப்படி இருந்துச்சு, agriculture sector was not at all growing during the colonial rule. They had to stay back because they were only the suppliers of raw materials. We Indians were only that. So the large increase in production of food grain resulting from the use of high yielding variety seeds, especially for wheat and rice. So this is the HYV seeds gave large production especially in what? Especially in wheat and rice. So ரெண்டு முக்கியமான grains எங்க concentrate பண்ணோம் நம்ம HYV seeds were concentrated in wheat and rice. Now this seeds required use of fertilizers and pesticides in the correct quantities. So இவங்களுக்கு என்ன தேவைப்பட்டுச்சு, HYV seeds required use of fertilizers and pesticides in right quantities. Okay, so these HYV seeds required use of fertilizers and pesticides and regular supply of water and regular supply of water. So இது பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா farmers could benefit from HYV seeds only if they have these. இது இருந்தால் மட்டுமே, இதை afford பண்ணுறதுக்கு அவங்களுக்கு இருந்தால் மட்டுமே, irrigation facilities were already poor, we saw that. So we need to have these financial resources to buy these HIV seeds வாங்கணும், அதுக்கான fertilizers, அதுக்கான pesticides, அதுக்கான right supply of water was required. And what was required for all these financial resources was required for all of these. So in the first phase of the Green Revolution, that was between 1960s up to mid 1970s, that was in the beginning, okay, in the beginning time, how it was means the use of HIV seeds was restricted to the more affluent states such as Punjab, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So anga vandu definitely there would be an increase, there would be an use ன்னு நினைக்கிறவங்களுக்கு மட்டும்தான் இது கொடுக்க முடிஞ்சிச்சு in the first phase. In the first phase of Green Revolution, concentrated what? Which states? Concentrated Andhra Pradesh, Punjab and Tamil Nadu. So majorly நம்ம என்ன seeds தான் concentrate பண்ணோம்? Wheat and rice. So only these states were concentrated. Further, the use of HIV seeds primarily benefited the wheat growing regions only. So first Tamil Nadu vidavum Punjab was highly benefited because of the wheat growing nation. And in the second phase of the Green Revolution, that is from mid 90s to 1980s, the HIV technology spread to a large number of states and benefited more variety of crops. So first initially எதுதான் concentrate பண்ணோம் நம்ம? Wheat and rice, and predominantly wheat. But in the second phase of Green Revolution, what is concentrated? The other crops were also used. ஏன்னா இப்போ நமக்கு தெரியும், for every seed we can take that risk. When I say risk, yes, it was a risk. ஏன் risk அப்படின்னா, you need to afford that first thing, and you should know what is the right quantity. இல்லையா? You say that you need the right quantity of fertilizers and pesticides. So right quantity நம்ம எதை சொல்கிறோம் நமக்கு தெரியணும் இல்லையா? So you need to be educated about that particular quantity. அந்த அளவு தெரிஞ்சாதான் நம்மளால good productivity கொண்டு வர முடியும். So that is why it was a risk. That's why in the first phase we concentrated only wheat and rice, and in the second phase other crops also were benefited. Okay, so the spread of Green Revolution technology enabled India to attain self-sufficiency. Agriculture sector la growth vara we were not going to rely on other countries for food. We can be self-sufficient for food crops. Okay, that was the first point we discussed, that we were importing food and food grains from USA அப்படின்னு நம்ம பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா? So that stopped because we were becoming self-sufficient. And இன்னொரு ப்ராப்ளம் பார்த்தோம், that people were doing subsistence farming. So subsistence farming நம்ம என்ன, we were farming only for the need of us. நம்மளோட ஃபேமிலிக்கு தேவையானது மட்டும்தான் நம்ம அக்ரிகல்ச்சரில் இருந்துச்சு, not for profit goal. We did not work on profit is what was the problem that we faced. But now output is the subsistence farming alone will not be enough. Growth in agriculture output is important, but it is not enough. If a large proportion of this increase is consumed by farmers themselves instead of being sold in the market, the higher output will not make much of a difference to the economy as a whole. So enna pannalam, we need to make it a business. Like business in the sense, you need to produce extra output, you should give extra output to have for a profit, that could be sold in the market. So what happened? Produce more, increase the output. Edukkaga you have to increase the output? To be sold in the market. To be sold in the market, which was called as marketed surplus. Surplus na namakku theriyum, extra, right? Marketed surplus. So this high yielding variety seeds were one important point about the green revolution. Okay, and what was that? Adu rendu phase la nama try pannom. First phase we did for wheat and rice. Second phase we did it for other crops. And what was that? The output given was improving. Growth irukku, but that's not enough. We are self-sufficient, but we can produce more, which can be sold in the market by the farmers themselves, which was called as marketed surplus. So extra produce panni nama sell pannanum nenachom. A good proportion of the rice and wheat produced during the green revolution period was sold by the farmers in the market. As a result, the price of food grains declined relative to other items of consumption. So enna aachu? Price rate kammi aachu because there is surplus. When you have a demand, the price increases, but now you have a surplus, so obviously the price will fall, which will benefit the people. So price fall enna agum appadina, it will benefit the people. Price fall benefits people. இது இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் இல்லையா? என்ன கண்ட்ரியாக இருந்தாலும் ஃபுட்க்கு அவங்க செலவு பண்ணுறது ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தியாக இருக்கிறப்போ they cannot go towards the next step of growth. But now when it is good, they can develop themselves, their family. ஸோ இப்போது ஒரு ஃபேமிலி நம்ம எடுக்கிறோம் அப்படின்னா அவங்களோட இன்கமில் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பார்ட் will be kept for food only, இல்லையா? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங் will be kept for food, அதுக்கப்புறமா மெடிசன், அதுக்கப்புறமா எஜுகேஷன், அப்படி பிரிக்கிறப்போ இப்போ ஃபுட்டுக்கான செலவு குறையுது. Okay, the percentage of income that they spend on food is declining, means they can spend for other required items like medicines or education. All this will come. Okay, the green revolution enabled the government to procure sufficient amount of food grains to build a stock which could be used in times of food. So green revolution nal namakku enna kadichichu? We started having surplus. This surplus could be bought by the government to maintain a stock of grains. Okay, to maintain a stock of grains. So government maintained a stock of grains for future, especially during needy times. அதாவது ஒரு நேச்சுரல் drought situation இருக்கிறப்போ, they wanted to, ஒரு famine situation இருக்கிறப்போ, when there is a food shortage, they could use this extra grains, is what we discuss. And there was risk, we already discussed it, இல்லையா? என்ன ரிஸ்க் இதில்? that is, there would be differentiation between small and big farmers. Big farmers can easily afford it, the fertilizers, the pesticides, the water facility, everything. But when it comes to small farmers, they cannot afford it so easily. Right, they cannot afford it so easily. So that was a risk. What was the risk? That big farmers were benefited more than the small farmers. So idanaala they did, how do you motivate them to try it? Idu oru risk nu namakku theriyum. So you should motivate the small farmers to try this, to try HYV seeds in their farm. Adha eppadi panna mudiyum? How do you motivate them? Means government took some steps. Okay, government took some steps because already there was one thing like ஏன் நம்ம pesticides நிறைய யூஸ் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்கிறோம் அப்படின்னா HYV seeds attract pest, நிறைய பூச்சி வரும். So the goodness of the soil, the fertility of the soil also might be lostங்கிற ஒரு ஃபியர் இருந்துச்சு. அந்த ஃபியரை ஓவர் கம் பண்ணி அவங்க அதை ட்ரை பண்ணுறதுக்கு நம்ம மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ அதை மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு கவர்மெண்ட் என்ன பண்ணுச்சு? They gave financial help, they gave subsidies. Government gave subsidies to small farmers. So subsidies நம்ம என்ன சொல்கிறோம் அப்படின்னா அதே fertilizers, pesticides at a comfortable rate that could be bought by every farmer, every small farmer. So sila pesticides and fertilizers are free of cost and some at a subsidized price, means at a lower price, okay, for their benefit, so that they will overcome that fear and try and take the risk of HYV seeds. Yes, அதோட profit நல்லா இருந்துச்சு, ஆனால் அதே சமயம் when they had to face a loss it would be huge. So என்னதான் பண்ணினாங்க? Government stepped in and they took the effort of giving subsidies to motivate them to try and use the HYV seeds. So the Green Revolution benefited the small as well as big farmers. So in the subsidies nala Green Revolution enabled both of them to enjoy the benefit of it. Okay, so it would have benefited only the big farmers unless otherwise government intervene. So government intervene பண்ணி அவங்கள மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு சப்சிடிஸோ இல்லை அவங்களுக்கு நிறைய டெக்னாலஜிக்கல் சப்போர்ட் கூட கொடுத்தாங்க. ரைட், we have toll free numbers where you can call and ask your doubts, you can clarify your doubts, everything is possible. So what happens there is farmers were really benefited by the government's steps, okay, to take up these things, right children? So government played a huge role in making Green Revolution a successful one that could reach the small farmers also. So thanks to the government that enabled the small farmers also to enjoy the benefits of Green Revolution and thereby bringing a growth in the agricultural sector. So அவங்களோட மெயின் மோட்டிவேஷன் என்னவாதான் இருந்துச்சு? These subsidies, these financial helps that they were getting from the government. But do you think they have to give these subsidies regular-ஆ நம்ம subsidies கொடுத்துட்டே இருந்தா people will start believing these subsidies இல்லையா? Similarly, there was a debate over subsidies. அதாவது should we continue these subsidies? Should we not stop them? சரி, இனிஷியலாக அவங்கள மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணீங்க because that was a risk. Now they know it very well. இப்போதான் அவங்களுக்கு தெரியும்ல அதை பற்றி. Why should we give them subsidies? அவங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் ப்ராஃபிட்டும் கிடச்சிருக்கும். Then why do we have to give subsidiesங்கிற ஒரு question was raised. Okay, but did you think government stopped it? No. Till today, that subsidy system is being continued. That made a huge change. So debate over subsidies. The economic justification of subsidies in agriculture is a hotly debated question. It is generally agreed that it was necessary to use subsidies to provide motivation. Initially அவங்களுக்கு motivation தேவைப்பட்டுச்சு, but gradually நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம்? We can stop it. So initially a motivation was required, okay, but gradually நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம்? We can stop was the thought of many. Subsidies were therefore needed to encourage. Beginningல அது ஒரு பெரிய ரிஸ்காக இருந்தது, அதை பற்றி அவ்வளோ அவேர்னஸ் இல்லாமல் இருந்துச்சு. ஸோ சப்சிடிஸ் கொடுத்து அவங்கள நம்ம மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணோம். பட் gradually we can stop subsidies is what people thought. And subsidies are meant to benefit the farmers, but a substantial amount of fertilizer subsidy also benefits the fertilizer industry. ஏன் இதை வந்து நம்ம ஸ்டாப் பண்ணலை அப்படின்னா, it not only benefits the farmers but also fertilizer industry. ஏன்னா அவங்க கிட்ட இருந்து நம்ம பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணுறோம். So government pays the original price and gives it to the farmers at a discounted price. அப்படிங்கிறப்ப large consumption was made towards the fertilizers industry. So there is no case for continuing with fertilizer subsidies. It does not benefit the target group and it is a huge burden on the government's finance. So in the subsidies yaar mela vanduchu? Government finance, because they had to pay the original price to fertilizer. இப்போ ஒரு fertilizer-ஓட rate வந்து 25 rupees na government pays this 25 but gives at a rate of 15 to the farmers. So in the 10 rupees யாரோடதுல விழும்? Government-ஓட expenses which can never be retrieved. So அப்படிங்கிறப்போ expenses government மேலே நிறைய வருது. Why do we have to give it? Why does the government has to face this expenses-ங்கிற மாதிரி நிறைய problems வர ஆரம்பிச்சிச்சு. On the other hand, some believed that the government should continue with agricultural subsidies because farming in India continues to be risky business. நிறைய பேர் என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, no, government should continue these subsidies because it is always risky. ஏன்னா we depend on rainfall. If there is no rainfall in a particular year, then the farmers has to struggle. Till today we see in the news that because of no rainfall, the crops dried. பார்க்குறோம். Because of heavy rainfall, the crops got wasted. பார்க்குறோம். So if there is good rainfall also, there is a problem. Minimum rainfall also problem, maximum rainfall also problem. And we cannot control rainfall. That's a natural thing. You cannot control that. So definitely it still now serves to be a risky business. So eliminating subsidies will increase the inequality between rich and poor. So experts என்ன சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்னா, eliminating or the stopping subsidies would create inequality between big and small farmers. Okay, so they thought that subsidies have to be continued from the government. So thus by the late 1960s, adili innor vishayam, we have recently seen in news that some people faked that they are poor farmers and they have asked for loans. Ada kandupidichittu irukom illaya, get to know more about it. So it's like we cannot trust that everybody who is getting those subsidies are really in need of these subsidies. Ada confirm பண்ணிட்டு தான் நம்ம subsidiesum கொடுக்கணும். So thus by the late 1960s, Indian agricultural productivity had increased sufficiently to enable the country to be self-sufficient in food grains. So when in late 1960s, Indian agriculture became self-sufficient. We no longer had to depend on other countries. We can produce whatever we want and even surplus due to this high yielding variety seeds. So on the negative side, that was one positive side. What is the negative side? Some 65% of the country's population continued to be employed in agriculture even as late as 1990. So economists have found that a nation becomes more prosperous, the proportion of GDP contributed as well as that is a developed economy will show the growth or the contribution of GDP. Agricultural sector's contribution should decline and industrial sector and service sector's contribution should increase. அப்படி இருக்கிறப்ப தான் the country or the economy is developing னு நம்ம புரிஞ்சுக்குவோம். But till 1990s even 65% of the population was still with agriculture. So அப்படிங்கிறப்போ GDP maximum production எங்கே தான் இருந்துச்சு? Agricultural sector la dhaan irundhuchu. So that was a negative thinking. So between 1950 and 1990, the title, the proportion of GDP contributed by agriculture declined significantly, but not the population depending on it. அதிலிருந்து வர கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன் குறைஞ்சிது, ஆனால் அதில் இருந்த பாப்புலேஷன் என்னவா தான் இருந்துச்சு? It was still continuing. Why was such a large proportion of population engage in agriculture? The answer is that the industrial sector and the service sector did not absorb the people working in the agricultural sector. So இது எதனால ஒரு important failure of green revolution was that people were not interested in leaving agricultural sector and going towards industrial sector and service sector. So that was one of the failures or one important failure of green revolution. It gave growth, ஆனாலும் அங்கே இருந்து நம்மளால செல்ஃப் சஃபிஷியண்ட்டாக ஆக முடிச்சிச்சு. That is one positive thing. And the contribution also was declining. From 1950 to 1990, the contribution also was declining. But one point that was still under consideration was still the maximum population was with agricultural sector, which was due to the fact that the industrial sector and the service sector failed to absorb people, farmers or people from agricultural sector towards the other sectors. So இது ஒரு reason. இதனால தான் economic reforms were changed after 1991, which we will be discussing in the next lesson. Okay, next chapter. In the next session, we will be discussing about industry and trade between 1950 to 1990 and what were the important policy resolutions brought, how it changed, what was the trade policy, everything we'll be discussing in the forthcoming classes. So I hope you have understood what was the difference made to the agricultural sector between 1950 and 1990. I hope you have understood it. Kindly go through the text, and if at all you have any doubts, please feel free to reach me out and get your doubts clarified. Thank you, and may you all have a wonderful day today.